On June 18, 1815, the fate of Europe hung in the balance at the Battle of Waterloo. This was Napoleon's last stand, a dramatic clash against the united forces of Britain and Prussia. After years of relentless warfare, Napoleon had been exiled to Elba, but he returned to France in a bold bid to reclaim his empire during the 100 Days. His ambitions reignited. He rallied his loyal supporters, but the great powers of Europe were not willing to let him rise again. As the sun rose over the battlefield, the stakes were higher than ever. This wasn't just a battle. It was a decisive moment that would reshape the continent and mark the end of one of history's most formidable military leaders. The echoes of cannon fire and the clash of swords would resonate through time, forever defining the legacy of Napoleon Bonaparte. In June 1815, Napoleon executed a daring plan to divide his enemies before they could unite. His sights were set on the Anglo-Allied forces under the Duke of Wellington and the Prussian army, led by Marshal Blucher. At Ligny, he achieved a decisive victory, pushing the Prussians back, but failing to annihilate them. This was a critical miscalculation. Just 2 days later, he turned his focus to Wellington's well-positioned army near Waterloo. The Anglo-Allied forces occupied a strategic ridge, fortified by key villages like Hougoumont and La Haye. Confident in his troops, Napoleon believed he could shatter Wellington's lines before the Prussians could regroup. Yet, this overconfidence would soon prove to be his undoing, setting the stage for one of history's most famous battles.
On the morning of June 18th, the battlefield was a treacherous quagmire, thanks to heavy rain. Napoleon, sensing the conditions were against him, delayed his attack, granting Wellington crucial time to fortify his defenses. By 11:30 a.m., the French launched their first assault on Hougoumont, a farmhouse that became the focal point of fierce fighting. Despite relentless waves of French troops, the British defenders held their ground, tying up thousands of enemy soldiers in costly distraction. Then came the massive assault on the Allied center. French infantry advanced, but they were met with disciplined volleys of musket fire and artillery. To break the deadlock, Marshal Ney led bold cavalry charges, but Wellington's troops formed defensive squares, a formation nearly impervious to cavalry. Time and again, the French horsemen charged, only to be repelled, leaving their forces exhausted and the battle far from over. The tide turned that fateful afternoon. The Prussian army, led by Marshal Blucher, surged onto the battlefield, striking at Napoleon's right flank. The French forces, weary and outnumbered, fought valiantly but struggled to maintain their ground. In a desperate bid, Napoleon unleashed his elite Imperial Guard, a force undefeated until now, aiming to shatter Wellington's center. But they were met with a relentless barrage of gunfire, and as the Guard faltered, so too did the spirit of the French army. By evening, the once mighty forces of Napoleon were in full retreat, marking the end of his imperial dreams. Captured weeks later, he was exiled to St. Helena, while Europe breathed a sigh of relief, stepping into a new era of peace after 2 decades of relentless conflict. This was the final chapter for a man who had forever altered the course of history.
The Battle of Waterloo was not merely a military defeat. It was a seismic shift in the landscape of European history. This clash marked the end of the Napoleonic Wars, paving the way for the concert of Europe, a delicate balance of power that would endure until the shadows of World War I loomed. For Britain and Prussia, Waterloo became a symbol of resilience, a testament to their unwavering spirit. Yet, for Napoleon, it was a bittersweet finale, a final stand that immortalized him as both a brilliant strategist and a flawed leader. The complexities of leadership and the chaos of war are encapsulated in this legendary battle. Napoleon's legacy is not just that of a military genius. He was a man who profoundly shaped the modern world, reminding us all of the fine line between ambition and downfall.